The story begins inside a mysterious spaceship, where a machine slowly opens a sleeping pod and wakes up Ryland from a deep medical coma. As soon as his eyes open, the ship's AI system, Mary, starts asking him questions to check if his mental condition is stable or not. But Ryland completely panics because he cannot even remember who he is. His memory is completely gone. Out of fear, he breaks himself free from the machines and starts running through the ship trying to find the other crew members. After searching for a long time, he finally sees another human being. But the moment he looks at him, he is left completely shocked because the man is already dead. Now Ryland keeps wandering alone inside the strange spaceship, trying to understand where exactly he is. Then he finds a window, and the moment he looks outside, his breathing almost stops because he is not on Earth but somewhere deep in space. Slowly, he realizes that he understands the ship's machines and scientific systems, meaning he is not an ordinary man but actually a scientist. In the next room, he notices giant screens playing videos of beautiful places from Earth. After changing his clothes, Mary asks him to record a video diary, but Ryland demands to meet the captain instead. That is when Mary reveals a truth that completely breaks him from the inside. He is the last living human left on this mission. The rest of the crew is already dead. Panicking badly, Ryland begs Mary to take him back to Earth, but the AI cannot even understand that command. Then he looks at the sun on the screen and assumes that he is still somewhere inside the solar system. He immediately talks about sending a message back to Earth, but Mary tells him that the message would take almost 12 years to arrive. Hearing this completely shatters Ryland. He checks the ship's map, and that is when he discovers that the sun he is looking at is not our sun at all. After checking the ship's fuel and other data, he calculates everything and realizes that he is now almost 114 light years away from Earth. This truth hits his mind so hard that sudden flashes of his old memories begin returning to him. He remembers that he used to be a molecular biologist who constantly followed the mysterious phenomenon known as the Petrova line. A space mission called the Arclight probe had discovered that the sun was slowly becoming weaker. Back then, Ryland worked as a school teacher and used to teach science to children. When the students asked him about this shocking news, he explained that a strange infrared line stretching from the sun toward Venus was slowly reducing the sun's energy output. If this continued, Earth would eventually begin freezing within the next 30 years, and humanity itself could face extinction. Hearing this terrifies the children, but Ryland comforts them by saying that the smartest minds in the world are already trying to solve this problem. Returning back to the present, Ryland shaves off his long beard and searches the ship for alcohol to somehow calm himself down. Completely broken by loneliness, Ryland looks through the belongings of his dead crewmates, and memories of the time spent with them begin flooding back into his mind. He even creates a fake doll using their clothes and starts dancing with it, only so that, for a few moments, he does not feel completely alone in the endless darkness of space. Surrounded by loneliness and fear, Ryland starts writing small details about himself on a whiteboard so he can figure out who he really is. That is when another piece of his memory suddenly returns. He remembers that one day after class ended, a woman named Eva came to meet him, who was the head of the Petrova project. She had read Ryland's research paper where he claimed that water was not necessary for life to exist. That was exactly why she had come to ask for his help. Ryland immediately reminds her that the same paper had gotten him fired from his job, but Eva already knew the truth. In reality, Ryland had been fired because he publicly insulted one of his senior colleagues, and after that, nobody wanted to work with him anymore. Ryland tries to avoid getting involved, but Eva tells him something that changes everything. The samples collected by the Arclight probe from the Petrova line had survived even on the burning surface of the sun, which meant Ryland's theory might actually be true. The moment he learns that the sun is genuinely dying, he immediately agrees to join them. Inside the lab, some of the world's greatest leaders and scientists are already present, while Ryland begins testing the mysterious samples. The strange objects were capable of movement, but that alone did not prove they were alive. Their color was so dark that looking inside them was almost impossible. Ryland keeps trying different methods again and again, and eventually he succeeds in making the samples slightly transparent. That is when a shocking truth is finally revealed. They were not ordinary objects at all, but tiny alien cells. Although the cell dies during the experiment, Ryland is finally able to study its internal structure. After performing more tests, he discovers that most of those cells are actually made of water. Seeing this makes Ryland furious because it means his original theory was completely wrong. But soon after that, he realizes something even more important. Whenever those cells moved, they released infrared energy, and their wave patterns were exactly identical to the Petrova line, which meant those creatures were feeding on the sun's energy and using it to move around. Now, Eva tells him to go back home because she still needs to contact other scientists around the world, but Ryland has already become emotionally attached to the mission. He genuinely wants to help save humanity. Because Because of this, Eva allows him to keep 3 of the alien cells for further research. Ryland starts wondering why those alien cells traveled toward Venus but completely ignored Mercury. Suddenly, an idea strikes his mind. He buys a huge amount of equipment from a hardware store and prepares a massive experiment. He places a small box inside a larger one, and the smaller box is able to produce infrared light similar to the atmosphere of Venus. He believes that if the cells move toward that side, it would prove that they need carbon dioxide to survive. The box is completely sealed, and when Ryland switches on the light, all 3 cells suddenly disappear. This proves that his theory was absolutely correct. But now, an entirely new problem has appeared. Those alien cells are now freely moving somewhere inside the giant sealed box. If the box had been opened normally, those alien cells would have escaped and rushed toward the next available source of light. That is why Ryland locks himself completely inside the lab along with the box with the help of a few security guards. After that, all the lights inside the room are switched off, and Ryland opens the box once again. In the darkness, he quickly spots the 3 glowing cells because of their faint light, but then his eyes widen in complete shock because there are not 3, but 4 cells inside the room. This means those creatures needed not only sunlight, but also carbon dioxide in order to grow and reproduce. And that was the real reason they had traveled toward Venus. The moment the lights turn back on, he excitedly tells Eva about this massive discovery. Sometime later, military officers place Ryland inside a high-speed jet and take him somewhere unknown, but he is so terrified of flying at such extreme speed that he panics and swallows sleeping pills. When he finally wakes up, he finds himself standing on a gigantic aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean. The moment he steps out of the jet, he feels so sick that he instantly throws up. There, Eva introduces him to a team made up of the world's greatest scientists and leaders. However, even Ryland does not have answers to every question. The team tells him that they repeated his experiment and received the exact same results. After this, they officially name the new alien organism astrophage, but the real shock comes when they reveal that they need almost 2 million kilograms of it. Ryland is stunned and asks why they would ever need such an insane amount. That is when Eva reveals the biggest secret behind Project Hail Mary. In reality, it was not just our sun that was slowly dying, but many other stars across the universe as well. However, there was one particular star that seemed completely untouched by this mysterious infection. Its name was Tau Ceti, located almost 12 light-years away from Earth. Scientists could not understand why that star alone had survived safely, so they decided to send a space mission there in order to uncover the mystery and save humanity. But such a massive journey required an unbelievably powerful fuel source, and astrophage could become that fuel if they managed to produce millions of kilograms of it. Ryland immediately warns them that such an enormous amount of astrophage could blow up the entire state of California. Eva then explains that this is exactly why all the work is being done on a ship in the middle of the ocean. But the saddest part of the mission is still left to reveal. The fuel was only enough for the journey to Tau Ceti, not for the return trip, which meant whichever astronauts were sent on this mission would never come back to Earth alive. They would send their discoveries back through small probes, but they themselves would die somewhere in deep space. During most of the mission, the crew would remain inside a coma-like sleep, and only 3 people were needed for the entire journey: a pilot, an engineer, and a scientist. The chances of this mission succeeding were incredibly low. Maybe that is exactly why it was named Hail Mary, humanity's final hope. After finally recovering all his memories, Ryland properly prepares himself, cuts his hair, and once again goes to see the bodies of his dead crewmates. Looking at them fills his eyes with tears, because now he realizes that he did not just lose his memories, but also the friends he would never get back again. After cleaning the bodies of his crewmates, Ryland respectfully places their photographs inside their pockets. Then, with a heavy heart, he gives a small speech in front of them and thanks them for their sacrifice. Tears keep rolling down his face, but even then he promises himself that no matter what happens, he will complete this mission. After that, he sends the bodies of his friends out into space. Sometime later, the AI Mary informs him that their ship has finally reached close to Tau Ceti. The moment the spaceship enters its orbit, the ship's engines shut down, and suddenly all gravity disappears. Ryland starts floating helplessly in the air. After struggling hard to control himself, he looks outside and is left stunned because the Petrova line exists here as well. Yet, the Tau Ceti star still looks completely healthy. Suddenly, he notices another spaceship flying extremely close to his own ship. Seeing this terrifies Ryland. As the other ship starts moving even closer, he quickly rushes to the pilot's seat and clumsily tries to move his ship away. For a short moment, the strange spacecraft disappears from sight, but then it suddenly appears once again. Now, no matter which direction Ryland tries to escape toward, the mysterious spaceship refuses to stop following him. Then suddenly, that ship sends some strange object toward the Hail Mary. Mary. Ryland gets scared that it might be a bomb, so he completely ignores it. The object crashes against his ship and floats away into space. But after some time, the same ship sends another object again, this time moving very slowly. Ryland decides that he has no choice but to go outside and catch it himself. In a hurry, he wears his spacesuit, quickly reads the instructions, and then awkwardly steps outside for a dangerous spacewalk. After a terrifying struggle, he finally jumps at the perfect moment and manages to grab the object. After returning inside the ship, he tries to open it but fails completely. When he scans it, the report says that the object is made from xenon gas, which makes absolutely no sense to him. That is when he remembers the centrifuge system inside the ship, which was designed to create artificial gravity. The moment he activates it, the entire ship starts spinning, and within seconds, the fake gravity returns again. Now, Ryland examines the mysterious object once more, but the scanner still identifies it as xenon. He twists the top section of the object, and this time it finally opens. But at that exact moment, Mary warns him that there is an unknown external presence inside the room. Ryland immediately places the strange object inside a secured glove box. From inside it, he finds a weird spherical device covered with several lines and markings. When he removes the second lid, another smaller circular structure becomes visible, containing multiple tiny rods attached to it. Suddenly, the object jumps out of his hand and stands upright on its own legs. Ryland carefully studies it and compares it with a map of space. That is when he realizes that the alien is trying to show where it came from, and its world is located even farther away than Earth itself. After this, Ryland rearranges the rods inside the sphere and sets Earth's location into it before sending the object back toward the alien spaceship. After some time, the alien ship sends another object toward Ryland, which looks like some kind of tunnel. Ryland immediately understands that the alien wants to connect both spaceships together. He slowly moves his spaceship closer to it, and then the alien ship creates a tunnel between both spacecrafts. Ryland carefully wears his spacesuit and slowly starts moving forward through the tunnel. The moment he reaches the other ship and looks through the window, something suddenly moves behind the glass. Seeing this scares him so badly that he instantly starts floating backward in panic. Somehow, he manages to grab the wall of the tunnel just in time. After gathering some courage, he slowly approaches the window once again. This time, he sees an alien hand. The alien shows him a few tiny toys, including a small Ryland figure and a miniature ship model. By moving those toys around, the alien gestures for Ryland to return to his own ship. The moment Ryland goes back, the alien disconnects the tunnel and starts rotating its spaceship just like the Hail Mary. After some time, the tunnel reconnects once again, but this time, the moment Ryland opens the door, a blast of high-pressure air slams directly into him. Now, even the tunnel has artificial gravity inside it. This time, Ryland moves forward while placing lights along the path. When he finally reaches the window, he shows the alien a model spaceship made out of noodles. The alien comes much closer than before, and Ryland is finally able to see it clearly. It looks like some kind of moving rock creature. Ryland smiles and says, "Hi." But suddenly, the alien opens its mouth and releases a terrifying sound. The moment Ryland hears it, he screams in fear and instinctively points the tool in his hand toward the alien to protect himself. The alien also gets scared and quickly backs away. Ryland then feels embarrassed and apologizes to it through gestures. After that, whenever Ryland moves his hands or body, the alien starts copying him. Slowly, both of them begin making weird and funny poses while imitating each other. After some time, the alien starts pointing toward the window with its finger. Ryland also touches the glass in response. But after a few moments, he realizes that the alien was actually pointing behind him because it had left another message for him. When Ryland opens it, he finds a strange-looking collar inside. The alien repeatedly gestures for him to remove his helmet, but Ryland is too scared to do it. Just then, the tunnel lights begin malfunctioning, forcing him to return back. But suddenly, something clicks inside his mind. He notices that the collar has two circular rings marked with 8 sections each. He realizes that it is a symbol for oxygen, which means the alien was trying to tell him that the tunnel contains breathable air. At first, Ryland feels extremely nervous, but after a long hesitation, he slowly removes his helmet. For a few seconds, he remains terrified, but then a relieved smile appears on his face because he is able to breathe there normally. Later, after returning to his ship, Ryland carefully studies the first message and finally understands that it was actually the symbol of the Petrova line, which means the alien also came here for the same reason, because the sun of its planet is dying, too. Now, Ryland decides that both of them should work together together. But the biggest problem is still the language barrier. He starts thinking that mathematics might be the one thing understood not only by humanity, but by the entire universe itself. He shows the alien a measuring tape. The alien opens a drawer built into the wall of its ship, and Ryland gives him the tape. But instead of understanding it, the alien simply starts spinning it around like a toy. Then, Ryland shows him a clock. But once again, the alien gives no reaction at all. That is when Ryland realizes that the alien ship always remains completely dark, and the creature itself has neither eyes nor a visible face. Suddenly, Ryland comes up with a shocking theory. Maybe the alien is blind and senses the world through sound waves, just like a bat. Ryland gives the alien the name Rocky. After that, he returns to his ship and slightly modifies the clock so that the numbers stick out from the surface. When he shows this new clock to Rocky for the very first time, Rocky is able to feel the numbers properly and starts doing a small, happy dance. Ryland tries teaching him how to do a thumbs up, but because of the strange shape of Rocky's hands, he can only manage a thumbs down. Suddenly, Rocky disappears, and after some time returns carrying a strange machine. Different symbols are marked across its moving parts. Ryland quickly realizes that it is also some kind of clock. Now Ryland brings his laptop and microphone into the tunnel. He points toward each number one by one and records every sound Rocky makes in response. Slowly, hours pass by as Ryland keeps showing different objects and begins learning Rocky's language. Using all these recordings, he starts building a translator so humans and the alien can finally communicate properly. At the same time, he also keeps recording every experiment so that someday he may be able to send all this information back to Earth. The mysterious material Rocky uses to build things is named xenonite by Ryland. One day, Ryland shows Rocky a sample of astrophage. The moment Rocky sees it, he instantly recognizes it and says that the substance is extremely dangerous. Now it becomes completely clear that despite coming from different worlds, both of them arrived here for exactly the same reason. Then Rocky sadly explains that he is happy because now he is no longer alone. He also had an entire crew once, but they all died just like Ryland's crewmates. Both of them decide that they will work together to save their sons. Ryland teaches Rocky how to do a fist bump, and soon both of them start working together like true friends. With the help of the translator, Ryland explains all the data collected so far to Rocky. He even tests different voices in the software until he finally finds one that Rocky likes. When Ryland gets ready to leave the tunnel and go sleep, Rocky mistakenly thinks that the human is going away to die. Ryland then explains the meaning of sleep to him. Rocky also shares the word for sleep in his own language and says that in his world everyone sleeps together so they can feel safe. Then Rocky says that he also wants to sleep beside Ryland. At first, Ryland finds this extremely strange, but his heart changes when Rocky sadly reveals that he watched his entire crew go to sleep once, and then they never woke up again. Hearing this deeply affects Ryland. He brings some supplies and creates a small bed nearby, and then both friends sleep together beside the window. After this, another old memory returns to Ryland. Eva introduces him to the 3 astronauts selected for the Hail Mary mission. They explained that once the mission is over, the ship should contain a system that would allow them to end their own lives, because if they became trapped in space, starving to death would take an unbearably long and painful time. Ryland then shows them a demonstration of the engine. The moment astrophage becomes active, it melts an entire ton of metal within seconds. Everyone is left shocked after witnessing its terrifying power. Returning back to the present, Ryland remains lost inside his confused memories when suddenly he hears a strange noise. The moment he opens the door, he freezes in surprise because Rocky has entered his ship himself. Rocky has created a small, pressurized bubble around his body, which works like a spacesuit for him. He walks around the ship, curiously examining human technology, and then scolds Ryland for keeping his ship so messy. Ryland tries explaining that both of them should continue working from their own ships, but Rocky refuses to listen. He says that he also wants his own room here so they can work together. Slowly, their friendship becomes even more entertaining. Ryland complains that Rocky is extremely bossy and eats in a disgustingly messy way. On the other hand, Rocky can see through walls and possesses incredibly powerful hearing, which means Ryland gets absolutely no privacy at all. While discussing the technology of their ships, Ryland suddenly realizes something shocking. Rocky's civilization had absolutely no knowledge about radiation. That is when he understands that Rocky's entire crew died because of radiation poisoning. Rocky survived only because his workshop was located close to astrophage, and the astrophage protected him from the deadly radiation. Now both of them decide that they will need more astrophage samples, so Ryland separates the 2 ships and directs his spaceship toward the nearest planet orbiting Tau Ceti. It was going to take a full 11 days to reach the planet Adrian. During this long journey, Ryland keeps showing Rocky video recordings from Earth, oceans, forests, animals, and human civilization. Rocky watches all of it with great curiosity. Then he sadly admits that he misses his his crewmate deeply, the one who had stayed beside him for the last 186 years. Around the same time, another old memory returns to Ryland. He was sitting in the ship's bar with the mission crew, but the atmosphere there felt strange to him. Everyone was laughing, joking, and smiling, even though they all knew they might never return home again. Feeling uncomfortable, Ryland quietly leaves the place. Outside, he meets Eva. Ryland tells her that he cannot understand how people can still stay so happy while preparing for a mission that will most likely kill them. Eva then explains that friendship and companionship are exactly what give astronauts the strength to fight against fear and pain. After that, both of them return to the bar, and to lighten the mood, Eva herself starts singing karaoke. For the first time, Ryland realizes that maybe humans can learn to smile even in the middle of fear. Back in the present, the Hail Mary finally reaches the planet Adrian. Ryland is left amazed by the planet's glowing colors and breathtaking appearance. He goes outside on a spacewalk and activates a special type of light using a machine. The moment the light turns on, thousands of astrophage begin rushing toward it, and suddenly, the entire space around them glows like magic. After witnessing the beautiful sight, Rocky and Ryland together decide to name the planet Adrian. After this, they bring astrophage samples onto the ship and begin testing them, but the results leave both of them shocked. The exact same amount of astrophage that enters the planet also returns back out, even though they should have multiplied after reaching the planet. After performing another experiment, they discover that tiny bacteria-like organisms are also present alongside the astrophage, which means life already exists on Adrian. Rocky immediately realizes that some kind of living organism on Adrian is hunting astrophage as prey. That is the reason why the astrophage population stays under control and cannot completely consume the star's energy. Now, both of them understand that if they can capture those predator organisms and deliver them back to their own planets, they may be able to save their sons. But the problem was that those organisms live deep inside Adrian's poisonous clouds, exactly where astrophage grows, and the Hail Mary was never designed to enter such a dangerous atmosphere. That is when Rocky says that he can build an extremely long chain system that could reach inside the clouds and collect those organisms safely. Ryland jokingly calls the plan space fishing. Since Ryland was never actually trained as a real pilot and had mostly been flying the ship through guesswork until now, he spends many days practicing carefully so the ship does not accidentally drift too close to Adrian's atmosphere. During this time, Rocky starts recording video messages for the people of Earth, but he mistakenly believes that all of it is being broadcast live. Ryland then explains that later a small probe will carry all the information back to Earth. Hearing this, Rocky innocently asks why Ryland himself cannot return and explain everything personally. That is when Ryland quietly admits that he will never return because he is going to die out here. Rocky completely refuses to accept this. He says that he will give some of his own fuel to Ryland instead. His own journey may become slower because of it, but at least both of them will survive. Hearing this fills Ryland's eyes with tears. Emotionally overwhelmed, he hugs Rocky's small pressure bubble tightly. Then another old memory suddenly returns to Ryland. Just 3 days before the mission launch, he and Eva were talking together inside the lab. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupts, and within moments the entire building is consumed by flames. Back in the present, Ryland carefully moves his ship as close to Adrian's atmosphere as possible. Then he sends a special probe downward using the long chain system, and it begins collecting samples deep inside the clouds. After some time, once the probe finishes its job, Ryland goes out on a spacewalk to bring it back into the ship. But the task is far from easy. The ship is slowly starting to break apart while enduring the terrifying heat of the atmosphere. Suddenly, a huge piece of metal snaps off and crashes directly into Ryland, knocking him unconscious. Luckily, after some time, he regains consciousness. But now the probe is hanging beneath the ship. Meanwhile, the temperature keeps rising rapidly. Rocky repeatedly tells him that they need to leave immediately and collect another sample later, but Ryland refuses to give up. He jumps forward trying to grab the probe, but another piece of metal slams into him and he gets tangled in the cables. Now his life is in serious danger. Left with no choice, he cuts the ropes using a knife and desperately tries to climb back into the ship using only his hands. Somehow he finally manages to return inside, and the Hail Mary immediately starts flying away from Adrian at full speed, but the damage is already severe. The outer hull of the ship has started cracking apart and could explode at any moment. Ryland pushes the engines to their absolute limit so they can escape the planet as quickly as possible. Eventually, once they reach a safe safe distance, the engines are shut down. But then another problem suddenly begins. The ship starts spinning wildly out of control. Ryland investigates and discovers that the fuel tank has been punctured. Fuel is leaking continuously from 2 damaged containers. They must be detached immediately. Through violent shaking and massive vibrations, Ryland somehow manages to press the correct buttons. The moment both are ejected, the ship finally stabilizes again. But because of the sudden impact, both Ryland and Rocky lose consciousness. After some time, Ryland slowly wakes up. He tries activating the centrifugal gravity system, but passes out again. On the other side, Rocky also regains consciousness and starts calling out for Ryland, but the translator has stopped working. Desperate and worried, Rocky steps outside his pressure bubble, even though the surrounding environment is extremely harmful for him. Even then, he somehow reaches the controls and activates the system himself. Slowly, the ship's spinning begins to slow down, and the gravity inside stabilizes again. Rocky's condition keeps getting worse, but he refuses to stop. Somehow, he manages to drag Ryland into the medical bay. The moment the ship's robots begin treating Ryland, Rocky finally collapses unconscious himself. Then another old memory returns to Ryland. He discovers that the earlier explosion in the lab happened because of a mistake while handling astrophage. In that accident, both the mission's lead scientist and the backup scientist were killed. Now, there was no time left to train someone new. That was why Eva wanted Ryland to join the mission, but Ryland had clearly refused. A heated argument breaks out between them. In anger, Eva reminds him that he has no family, no friends, not even a pet waiting for him. Then she gives him only 3 hours to change his decision. Back in the present, Ryland wakes up once again. He notices strange marks across the floor that look like Rocky's blood. Nervously, he follows the trail and finally sighs in relief when he discovers Rocky has made it back inside his pressure bubble and is sleeping while recovering. Ryland quietly sits beside him so they can sleep together once again like before. Sometime later, he finds a message left by Rocky on the computer. It says, "Save our homes." Now Ryland begins working non-stop on the experiments, and eventually, he successfully captures the bacteria that feed on astrophage. He names them Talmeba. After this, he starts growing them inside xenonite containers and modifies them so they can survive inside the atmosphere of Venus as well. Days continue to pass, but Rocky still does not wake up. Ryland keeps talking to him constantly, places motivational drawings around his bubble, and refuses to lose hope. Then one day, he suddenly wakes up after hearing a noise. He jumps with happiness when he sees that Rocky has finally recovered completely. Both friends hug each other joyfully. When they inspect the Talmeba farm, they realize they now have a huge supply of the bacteria prepared, which means they can finally save both of their planets for real. To celebrate, they watch videos of fireworks together. Rocky wears xenonite across his arms and legs to create something that looks like clothes. Meanwhile, Ryland makes paper hats and gifts Rocky an entire laptop filled with human knowledge. He also gives him a stress ball as a memory of their friendship. Rocky sadly says that he has nothing to give in return. Ryland smiles and replies that he simply wants to see Rocky's ship. When both ships reconnect once again, Ryland wears a special xenonite suit and enters Rocky's ship. He is left completely amazed by the incredible alien technology inside. That is when his final memory finally returns. After the 3 hours were over, he had told Eva that he still would not join the mission. Eva explains to him that sometimes the wishes of one individual do not matter when the survival of humanity is at stake. Then she calls in her men. Ryland tries to run away, but the guards capture him and inject him with a sedative. Finally, the truth is revealed. Ryland was forced onto this mission against his own will. Back in the present, Rocky helps Ryland repair his damaged ship. Now the time has finally come to return home. Inside the tunnel, both friends share an incredibly emotional goodbye. Before leaving, they even joke around and do funny gestures to keep the mood light. Then both ships fly away in different directions, and Ryland is forced to get used to loneliness once again. But suddenly, Mary issues an emergency warning that contamination has spread inside the ship. Ryland immediately shuts down the engines and begins investigating. The moment he checks the Talmeba, he is left horrified. The creatures have started breaking through the xenonite container. Ryland quickly transfers all the bacteria into a newly sealed box. But now he becomes deeply worried about Rocky because Rocky's entire ship is made of xenonite. If the Talmeba reaches his ship, they will consume both the vessel and its fuel, trapping Rocky forever in space. Ryland quickly does the calculations. He can either save Rocky or return to Earth himself. Both are impossible together, but leaving his best friend behind to die is something Ryland simply cannot do. So he loads all of his research and the Talmeba farm into small probes and sends them toward Earth, exactly as the original mission had planned. After that, he changes the direction of his ship. A few days later, Ryland finally reaches Rocky's ship. He performs a spacewalk to the window and desperately bangs on the door. Eventually, Rocky lets him inside. Many years later, the probes finally arrive on Earth. Eva watches the recordings and sees Rocky for the very first time. By that time, Earth has already begun freezing, but humanity finally has a way to save the planet. On the other side, Rocky's world has already been saved. Now, Ryland has built a new home there. He has even learned the alien language completely and no longer needs the translator anymore. One day, Rocky tells him that scientists have prepared a brand new spaceship for him so he can finally return to Earth. But Ryland simply smiles and refuses. He decides that he will stay there forever now and teach little alien children, just like he once used to teach kids back on Earth. So, what did you think about this movie? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, then like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss more amazing stories like this. See you again in the next video.